Today, we're going to talk about the three types of stablecoins that are out there. And I want to make it really simple and really easy for you to understand what the differences are. Then it's easier for us to start speaking about the different types of stablecoins out there and why they're so different and why sometimes they are $1, sometimes they're not $1. So in general, there are three types. The first type is off-chain collateral. So think of if I give you $1 and from there you create a Lisa dollar that equal one Lisa dollar equals $1 that I give you, that is off-chain collateral. So I take actual US dollars, put in the bank, and the bank will mint ERC20 version of US dollars, so you can use it on-chain. So that's one method. The other method, something similar, it's called on-chain collateral. So instead of you giving the US dollar note to the bank for them to create the crypto version of USD, what you do is you take things that's already on crypto, you keep them as collaterals, then you create USD out of it. So this could be giving them ETH, giving them Bitcoin, giving them whatever other currencies or tokens there are in the crypto space. Then the bank will keep those collaterals, keep those tokens, and then create US dollars that is applicable for crypto or crypto US dollars for you to use. So that's the second method, on-chain collaterals. And the third method, which is very interesting, is algorithmically determined stablecoins. This is a bit more tricky and a bit more difficult because you hear the word algorithm in the entire sentence, right? So it uses some form of math, it uses some form of mechanism. I will call it monetary policy. So they automate monetary policy or the big monetary policy into the system to create a stable coin. So the benefit of step one, which is giving US dollar bill to the bank and the bank creates money out of it, that is good because it's more or less quite stable, right? $1 that is given to the bank and you create $1 out in the marketplace, in the crypto space or in the DeFi space. And when $1 is withdrawn, then you have one less dollar to play with. So that's very obvious. That's 100% packed. The other so that's good, right? The other mechanism where it's on-chain collaterals, that is a bit tricky because what if the prices of the assets fell by so much? Then what happens to the $1? Does it maintain the peg? Does it not maintain the peg? When the collaterals fluctuate in price, what happens to the output? So it's a bit tricky, but it's possible to do that. One of the solutions is to over-collateralize. So instead of the first method, $1 equals one crypto US dollar. In the second method, usually it's $1.50 of worth of collaterals, and you will get $1 to use to one crypto dollar to spend. So that's the method they've used. Now the third method, which is algorithmic stablecoins, that's a bit trickier. Why? Because number one, we still have no idea which is the best mechanism for these kind of, or what's the best monetary policy for these kind of mechanisms. So it's still really out in the open. It's still experimenting. It's very interesting to be in this space right now. The other thing is also, one, it's not just the mechanism that has to be mathematically sound. It is also what happens to people's emotions, people's behaviors. Economics is all about behaviors. How people behave when these things change, or when the impact of prices change, how would people behave? That will impact very greatly on monetary policy. And usually it goes in this little reinforcing cycles. So there's something to manage, something to understand. And thirdly, there's so many mechanisms out there. We've talked about Ampleforth in one of our episodes, I think it's episode 21, where we talk about that is one of the mechanisms to play around with it. There are other mechanisms coming out, or there are other mechanisms in place, which is stuff like your empty dollar set or empty set dollar. And then you also have more and more new mechanisms coming out to explore these different wonders or these different innovations when it comes to the mechanisms and the monetary policy design of the third type of stablecoins. So when you look at stablecoins, they're not all the same. They're quite different depending on the mechanisms behind, depending on how the $1 is defined, and depending on what happens when it becomes more or less than $1. So these are the things that you should think about when you're looking at stablecoins. A few months later, we will go back and explore stablecoins. We'll deep dive into these different case studies, and we'll understand more about the different monetary policies and the different mechanisms involved. So stay tuned. And in the meantime, check out all these different stablecoin examples and stablecoin mechanisms because they're really interesting. Bye.